Do you agree that maybe Piketty got a little bit distracted by the new idea and gave a little bit of short shrift to some of the tried and true older ones?
Well, frankly, I don't know if it was a new idea, but in any case, I think he wants to. I think there's sort of a fundamental story here, and this is the nature of my review. And you're very much right. His book is titled "Capital in the 21st Century." He's thinking of picking up where Marx left off, and that's I think important. People have used this as a slur. I don't consider it a slur. Marx was a great thinker, whatever you like what you want to take or not take from him. He was a serious thinker, and Piketty obviously treats him that way. Point was, Marx saw capitalism as this system that had kind of its inherent logic that really could not be altered in fundamental ways, and I think Piketty sees it the same way. So he goes, capital, we're going to have greater concentration of wealth and income. And my view was that, no, capital could be structured a billion different ways. It's infinitely malleable. And I titled one of my other pieces, "Living in the Short Run," reference to Keynes. We could do 1,000 things to change the profitability of capital. That's not given to us by the gods. And that's why I was starting to talk about too big to fail banks in the financial sector. We changed rules to let the financial sector grow and become enormously profitable over the last 4 decades. You can't tell me that's inherently capital. We'd still have capitalism if we hadn't done that. If we
Right. And let me just jump in for a second and say we're talking with economist Dean Baker of the Center for Economic and Policy Research. I love that phrase, infinitely malleable, and I don't want to move beyond this aspect of his work for a second, if we might, because in retrospect, yes, Marx was a great thinker, but the most effective criticisms of his work were that he had a mechanistic view. He saw things as operating mechanically, and so his ideas, as things became more fluid, or proved to be more fluid, may have been less applicable than he thought. There were different. It wasn't just a dialectic between immovable and eternal forces. And so I love that phrase, infinitely malleable. So are you saying in effect that Piketty falls into a little bit of a mechanistic kind of trap in his view of things, that somehow he thinks this structure of capital is eternal and unchanging?
I would say he tends to fall into that, which, again, I don't mean to say the guy's stupid or anything. It's just, I think that is, and I think he tries to set it up that way. What are sort of the fundamentals of the system? And again, I had some of an exchange with him, so it's not as though, he's not aware of this, but he thinks, okay, here we have a fundamental dynamic, and I'm saying, no, it's actually not very fundamental. We could change this in many ways so that it doesn't have to lead to ever greater concentration. And, I conclude one of my pieces by going, look, we could do A, B, C, D, E. I list a number of items, which is hardly exhaustive. They can go on longer in my list, and I'm sure others would add more. And all of those things would reduce profitability, reduce the concentration of wealth. Now, could we do all those things and then still, again, see wealth concentrating? Certainly possible. And my quip there was, but then we'd be talking about capital in the 22nd century.